How Kruleboyz beat the new Flesh Eater Quartz book. Let's have a look. First, of course, thanks to all my patrons. Wybarian, Bear No Dice. Wow. So, Flesh Eater Quartz play style. So they get army-wide buffs called delusions. Some of these are battle traits and others are on hero war scrolls. They can change these delusions over the course of the game. It's in their battle traits. It's like they have, like at the beginning of every turn, let's see if I can find it here. They get to like roll a die, and then on a 1 or a 2, here it is right here. On a 1 or a 2, you must pick a different delusion. On a 3 or 4, you pick the same delusion, and on a 5 or a 6, you get to essentially pick any delusion. And at the very beginning of the game, you get to pick just any delusion that you want. However, if you play Ushuran, you get to add, I believe it's either +1 or -1 to the roll. So it's effectively what this means is that if you are on the one that you want, like if you're on the delusion that you want, the only way that it sucks is if you roll a 1. So it's like they are random, but I think you'll see a lot of Ushuran, right? So I don't think it's really quite random, right? Each time you make a delusion roll, add 1 or subtract 1 from the roll, which means it's like on a 2, it means you roll a 3, right? So it's like you either get to pick whatever you want or you get to keep it the same. So I assume players are going to choose the ones that they want most of the time. So it's random technically, but it's not really if you're playing Ushuran. So this is going to act kind of like a toolbox. Depending on what heroes that the different Flesh Eater Quartz armies bring, they're going to be able to pull out different delusions that are going to be helpful for them, depending on like what you're playing, right? They have a little bit of counterplay against you in that regard. So asking what your opponent's delusions are at the beginning of the game matters. They also have a fair bit of recursion. They can bring back units that have died at half strength, as well as return slain models to units on the table. There will always be more coming for you. The thing with Feck is they really are like a horde of undead ghouls just charging at you from all sides. So there's always more coming. There's always more than you think. If you don't kill a unit, they'll bring models back. If you do kill a unit, they'll bring half of that unit back, right? So there's not like, there's not like a strategy of like, oh, like leave a couple alive, like with Gloomspike gets, right? It's like, oh, if I just leave that one rock gut alive, then, you know, they can't bring 3 more out of the Loon Shrine. It's nothing like that. They're either going to bring models back or they're going to bring whole units back. The only time that they can't is like all of these abilities happen through their heroes. So if you're able to remove their heroes from the table, then they're not able to, you know, bring back like to recur models, right? Like they still are super reliant on their heroes, just like they were in previous phase, right? Same thing with their like bringing model or whole units back. You have to pick a friendly abhorrent. It's a hero that uses the ability. So if there are no abhorrents on the battlefield, this turns off. So their recursion is directly tied to their heroes. They have a fairly high volume of attack than your average army, right? They're going to throw lots of dice on you, but they're hitting on 4s and 3s, and the rend is 1, so it's not like super scary attacks, but there's just a high volume. I also don't think there's a really large number of like crit mortals, right? Like there are some, like the Ghoul King has crit mortals. Yeah, some of the some of the monsters look like they have crit mortals. Right, zombie, that's crit auto wound. These are crit auto wounds, right? So not a ton of crit mortals in the book, right? Crit 2 hits. So really what they're doing is they're just gonna like, you know, some auto wounds, some 2 hits, but not a lot of mortals, right? So they're not going to be dealing a ton of mortals to you, but they will be throwing just large amounts of dice. So if you have like weak saves against units that have weak saves, like for you know, just like Kruleboyz in general, I guess they will deal some pretty good damage, right? So if you're able to like shut down how many attacks they have or give them like -1 to hit, because they are hitting on 4s, right? A lot of the units are hitting on 4s, so -1s to hit, -1 to the attack characteristic are going to turn off a lot of their like melee threats, right? They do have deep strikes. teleports, they recur on the board edge, they get bonuses to move after being set up. So they set up outside of 9 and then get to move closer to you. And they have bonuses to charge that'll go board wide. So they're going to successfully charge you from all sides the whole game. You're not going to be able to like, oh, they set up and then I redeploy away and now it's an 11-inch charge. No, they're going to be getting you from all sides. So play that way. Don't play like, oh, they're not going to get me. Play like, yes, they're definitely going to get me. So what am I going to do about that, right? Like how you position on the board is going to change because they're coming. So what's your overall strategy as a Kruleboyz player? Well, you need to guard your flanks pretty hard the entire game. You have to have things that are going to be like, you know, helping you out. So like, yeah, like keeping a pretty tight castle. The more that you spread out, the harder time you're going to have, right? If you're playing like ranged units, you know, like if you have a tight castle, then when something comes in, then you're able to like focus fire things down to remove them from play. They have pretty weak saves and they have like 6-up wards, right? But like, yeah, Rend is good, but you have to guard your flanks the entire game. You'll need to survive their ambushes over and over and over again. So keeping models alive matters. So all out defense, defensive buffs like the gut rip is -1 to hit, enemy debuffs like I was saying with like the choking mist, and like those are all going to be very, very good. Stack your saves, right? Stack your saves. Play really defensively against these hordes. They have very limited strike first and strike last mechanics. The only notable unit is Usharon, who can pick 3 units that are within combat of him, and he rolls a dice, and if he exceeds the health characteristic, the control characteristic of the unit, gives them strike last for the rest of the turn. There's other strike first and strike last in the book, but I don't like they're not that strong, so like you don't really have to play around them. But with Usharon, you just have to, yeah, we'll talk about him specifically. But your strike last effects are gonna be really good, right? Because they don't have a lot of strike first. So you're going to be able to strike last things that come in and be able to deal with them. So you're going to use that to great effect. You have to kill their heroes, right? As I was saying before, a lot of their stuff happens through their heroes and their faction train. Their faction train is pretty good and pretty strong. So if you can just like sneak onto their faction train, a unit of gut rippers or something, you probably won't be able to because there's going to be a hero inside. But the kill boss is going to want to go there, right? And deal with that, right? The Gnash Tooth. So, or any kind of fast units, right? But if you can get rid of their faction train, it's going to be good and useful. And getting rid of their heroes, like I said. So sneaking bolt boys around the map to pick off infantry heroes is going to be pretty strong. The faction train itself is, where is it? Is not particularly tanky. It's standard. It's like a 4-up save for 10 health. So you should be able to chew through it pretty good. High Rend is a winner. So like I said, 4-up saves on like the big things, like the big monsters, 5-up saves on the medium things, right? Like the more elite infantry, and then 6-up saves on like ghouls and like kind of the small infantry. And they don't have a ton of, they have like a 6-up ward almost army wide and 5-up wards here and there. But if you have good Rend will be good. So the Break-a Boss is going to be able to deal his damage. Right, bolt boys are going to be able to deal their damage. They do have monsters, so the 3 Rend from the Killbow is going to be really good, right? Like some armies, Rend just isn't as impactful as others, obviously, but here the high Rend is going to be good. So we're going to be able to deal damage to them, right? And another tip is focus whole units down. If you kill little bits of everything all over the table, they're just going to bring models back. So when a unit is going to die, when you decide that a unit is going to die, you have to kind of focus things into it and get rid of it. Unless it's not close to a hero, right? If it's not close to a hero, then you can leave one alive. But if there's a hero floating around, then it's going to be able to recur models. So you have to kind of decide what you're going to do in that respect, right? If you're going to focus a unit down, focus a unit down. Right? Because they have, we'll talk about those specifically. So recursion. So what kind of recursion do they have in the book? So they have a battle trait that is called Summon Loyal Subjects. This happens for a command point, right? And what they do is for one command point, they get to pick a Serf or a Knights unit, which is like non-heroes, essentially non-monsters, right? they get to return at half strength, wholly within 6 of a board edge anywhere on the table, right? So anywhere within 6 inches of a board edge. And if we skip ahead to their movement, their faction terrain, right? The Charnel Throne. In the movement phase, you get to pick a visible unit and move it D3 or D6 if it was set up. So this recursion where it gets set up on the board edge, right? It's like outside of 9 of you, like a standard setup, but then they get to move D6 inches. So anything that it's like a 3D6 charge essentially, right? They get to move D6 closer to you, and then they get to charge you. So it's quite scary. They have another battle trait called Muster Guard. This is where they get to return. It says pick any number of friendly nobles to be the target. So for each target, you get to return 3 serfs or 1 knight, right? And noble is the keyword for some of the heroes, right? Let's see, is it not going to show me in the keywords? Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping I could just jump through, but it's for lots of these, like, you know, these lesser heroes, right? Nobles, right? Like the Royal Decapitator, right? The abhorrents are the bigger heroes, like the more important heroes, right? The more expensive heroes, the wizards, right? Things like this, right? If I type in abhorrent, 2 R's, right? It's like this guy is a priest 1, right? You get the idea, but they don't have the noble keyword. They used to have the courtier keyword, I think. But yeah, they get to return serfs or knights within 12 inches of every noble. So I think what you'll see for heroes, you'll probably see 5 drops a lot of the time in FEC, I think, just because they really want to run lots of these heroes. You'll probably see like 1 big one, like Usharon or like a zombie dragon or something. And then like 2 abhorrents, like 1 standing in the throne, casting spells, and then like some other nobles running around with the units, like embedded with the units, right? More recursion. They have a battle formation called Lord of the Manor. Whenever you return serfs, you get to return an additional serf. And whenever you return a knight on a 4-up, you get to return another knight. This only happens not in combat. I don't think you'll see this super often, but it does exist. They can lean into their recursion, right? Like if you picked everything on this list, right, and really wanted to lean into it. They have a spell called Charnel Feast. They get to do D3 mortals to something of yours within 18 inches, and they get to return that many, so D3 serfs within 6 inches, right? So Usharon can do this, right? He can have like some serfs hanging out with him, and then he can bring more back. So more recursion. The Abhorrent Arc Regent is a hero. In your hero phase on a 3-up, for a unit that's wholly within 12, he can just bring back 3 serfs or 1 knight. So, and these things like stack with each other, right? So it's like if the Abhorrent Arc Regent uses this ability, and then you also use Muster Guard, right? And you have the battle formation, and then he casts the spell, you can see that how you can bring lots of units back all over the table. So this is sort of what I was saying, that if they're close to nobles, right? Like then you probably want to delete the entire unit, especially if it means that you can get to that hero behind, right? And like shooting and, you know, like getting around their flanks, right? Like sneak is going to be pretty good against FEC, but so is everything else that we have, right? So now here are some movement shenanigans. So in this category of things, it's like anything that's kind of a gotcha that's gonna get you for like movement tricks. They have a delusion called Splendid Pageant. Whenever they run, they have a minimum run of 4. I think this is one of their core delusions. So they get to do this no matter what. It's pretty strong, but they don't have a lot of run and charge. I think it's only really the monsters that have run and charge. So you might see this for some, if they have like there's going to be a monster mash list in FEC, right? Like people are going to play it. It might not be the most competitive option, but you will run into it from time to time. So just keep that in mind, right? That's like minimum runs of 4. It basically just means that FEC players are going to be saving their CP for not auto running. Everything's going to, you know, they get to roll, and if it's not a 4, right? So it means there's a 66% chance it's a 4, and then like whatever, a 33% chance it's a 5 or a 6. So Usharon has a delusion that gives +1 to run and to charge rolls, and -1 to run and to charge rolls. That's nasty, right? Giving -1 to charge to your opponent is mean. For Kruleboyz, it just means that we like the Marshcrawler, so we're gonna auto run 6 so we don't have big charges to make, right? So Marshcrawler is just a really solid unit. I don't know why anybody would be running like reinforced units of Gut Rippers and Monster Killers and stuff and not running a Marshcrawler. He can also give Serfs anti-charge +1 rend if they're wholly within friendly territory. So he can set up some pretty defensive units, right? I do believe that the Crypt Guard, where are they? I do believe that they are Serfs. Yeah, Crypt Guard are going to be kind of nasty. Yeah, they are Serfs because they have anti-charge +1 rend, right? So if Usharon can just give them another, like, do these things stack with this delusion? Does Usharon giving that minus to rend? Right? The melee weapons used by friendly Serf units have anti-charge +1 rend while they're wholly within. But do they stack? Do they get anti-charge +2 rend? Or is this like a condition? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm actually not sure what happens. Because obviously sometimes with like crit 2 hits, like they don't stack. But I don't know if like these anti-charge buffs stack. So please let me know in the comments below. They have a heroic trait. We're still talking about movement here. A heroic trait called Cruel Taskmaster. You can reroll charge rolls for a non-hero unit that's wholly within 12. So just another way that they're going to be able to actually get to you, right, with their movement shenanigans and charges. They have a spell called Deranged Transformation. It gives +2 to move for infantry or cavalry and gives them +1 to wound. +1 to wound for a lot of units means that they're going to be, like, for example, a good unit of theirs. It's not as good as it used to be, but the Morbeg Knights, right? A charge +1 damage is wounding on 4s. So if you have a reinforced unit of this and there's 6 of these things, they have a champion, right? Yeah. Right? It's like, with all at attack, it's like 2s to hit, 3s to wound, 1 rend, 2 damage, and unfortunately the companion doesn't get the +1 to wound, but will get the +1 to hit. +1 to wound is a good buff. And then, yeah, the faction terrain, the Charnel Throne. In the movement phase, you get to pick a visible unit. It moves D3. And if it was set up, it moves D6. I had to read this 3 times because I thought it was backwards. I thought that if it was set up, it gets to move D3, and if it's not set up, it gets to move D6. Right? But here it is. The target can move, right? Pick a visible, friendly, non-hero unit. Right? It's a non-hero unit. It can move D6 instead if it was set up. So it's just like they're gonna set up units, they're gonna teleport units, and they're gonna get you. So move and deploy accordingly. Don't leave your units like all by themselves on the flanks. They're gonna die. They have some movement shenanigans for monsters. The important Ghoul King on Royal Zombie Dragon can pick a wholly within 12 to non-hero monsters and give them all run and charge. Right? So he's gonna run up with like 2 of the other monsters beside him and charge. So watch out. This guy is pretty good. I'll show you just a picture of him. Right? But he's this guy on a zombie dragon. Right? Abhorrent Ghoul King and Royal Zombie Dragon. So, like I said, you will see a Monster Mash list, and they're coming for you. He also has a delusion that gives +2 to charge wholly within 12 inches of him for monsters, and +1 to charge if wholly within 12 of another hero. So if he has like Usharon and this guy, then +1 to charge within Usharon and +2 to charge within him. So like I said, they're coming to get you. The Royal Zombie Dragon, without the hero on the top, right, has a once per turn army movement phase teleport. He just gets to teleport. Remove it from the battlefield, set it up again outside of 9. And if he charges, so like he can be set up, and then he can be chosen to move D6, and then he can get +2 to his charge, right? And then if he charges, which is super likely, on a 3-up, he gets to move another 2d6 and gets to end in combat. And these guys fly. They're on big bases, right? But they do fly. This is a rampage. This Royal Zombie Dragon ability is a rampage, so you can shut this down with with monster killers. Same thing with, I mean, we'll talk about that later. The Royal Zombie Dragon. Right. Some non-hero or some non-monster movements. The abhorrent Gore Warden can null deploy itself and 2 units. I should be showing pictures of these things, right? Abhorrent Gore Warden is a hero like this. He's like mounted on, right, this guy. He can null deploy himself and 2 units in his regiment. They can then be set up outside of 6 of a target unit and outside of 9 of everything else. So again, keep your castle tight, right? Keep your castle tight. His delusion gives +1 to charge to units that are wholly within 12 inches of a hero and +2 to charge if they were set up this turn. So he can like, yeah, strike these guys in and then charge in with them, right? Lots of these delusions are getting bonuses to charge. I'm sure that you've noticed, right? I'm sure that you've noticed. The Varghulf Courtier. Varghulf Courtier. I love this model. I think this model is like one of the coolest looking models in FEC. I'm just a big fan. This guy's pretty mobile. If he killed a model at the end of the turn, he gets to move 10 inches. If he's in combat, he has to stay in combat with the same units. And if he's not in combat, he can end that move in combat. Or he can't end that move in combat, right? If he starts, he has to end in combat. And if he's not in combat, he can't end that move in combat. But he, yeah, like he's gonna be he's gonna be prowling the flanks, looking for things to pick off or finish off. He might be good, but he doesn't like synergize well with the rest of the army. So if he's gonna be a lone ranger, he's got to be pretty cheap, I think. The Morbag Knights get a free end of turn retreat. So we showed, there are pictures of them. Where are they? These are the Morbag Knights here, right? They're like the Bat Rider guys. They get a free retreat at the end of the turn, right? Crypt Infernal Courtier and Crypt Flayers. So these are more like bat looking guys. Crypt Infernal Courtiers, right? It kind of looks like the other one that we saw. Here he is right here, right? It's like a big winged bat, but he has an ability where he gets to take crypt flares, and the flares the flares look like him, but they can teleport to him, and then he gives them D3 move, right? So it's like, again, like they're coming for you. So that's it for movement shenanigans. But so you can see, like, if we just look through movements, it's like lots of bonuses to charge, lots of teleports, and lots of like movements after teleports. So FEC is going to be setting up units and then successfully charging you. It's just what they're going to do. So you either have to like have units that are like way off on the flank that are just going to deny them the ability to set up within range of anything juicy. So you can just like leave some 3 bolt boys off to the side, right? And it's like, go ahead, like take out this unit. I don't care, right? You're just stalling and wasting time. Go ahead and do that, right? Or you have to keep, maybe even like Gork Rora can go off to the side, or any manifestation with a movement characteristic. Or you have to keep a tight castle. It's kind of got to be one or the other. You're either like sacrificing units on the flank, or you're going to keep a tight castle. I recommend keeping a tight castle. Let's look at some offensive abilities that they have. They have a battle formation called Royal Menagerie. So non-hero monsters or beasts with an unmodified charge of a 9 up get first strike. They don't really have any 3d6 charging. So this is not particularly strong. I don't think you'll see this, but it does exist, right? They have another battle trait called Feeding Frenzy. Once per battle, a hero gives +1 melee attacks in a 12-inch aura, including companion weapons. So those zombie dragons, those terrorgeists, they can get a lot of dice thrown at you. And they deal pretty decent damage, right? They do hit on 4s, but they will chew through stuff for sure. So again, like they're just going to throw lots of dice. There's an artifact power called Grisly Pennant. If the unit that is holding it charges, they get to roll greater than the control of a unit they charged into, and they give +1 attacks for friendly units targeting that unit that they picked, right? So if they charge into a unit of Gut Rippas, they just roll greater than, you know, like they roll a 3 up, and then it gives +1 attacks to everything that's targeting them, and -1 attacks to the unit, like to your unit of Gut Rippas. So can you see how, like, yeah, giving like minuses to whatever is like giving like a save stacking and -1 to hits, right? It's gonna matter. So it's gonna make a difference. It's gonna help keep things alive. They have a prayer called Excommunication. It casts or is answered, I guess, on a 4. With an 18, you ignore any bonuses to saves. So you're not gonna be able to save stack those Gut Rippas. And these prayers, right, there's not much that you can do except for keep them out of 18 inches of the priests, which might be tough. But if you can't save stack, right, like, then you're left with Choking Mist and the other one, the Scare Shields, right? And if they get an overcharge, they remove wards, but we don't care. More offensive spells and prayers. So there's a prayer called Summer King's Favor. It's answered on a 5, +1 melee damage for heroes. And if you overcharge, it fights twice. So this is not that great, right? Usharon has a spell. This one's scary. He picks you with an 18 and makes one of your units fight another unit or itself if it has more than one model. So this is kind of a trend for Usharon. This spell doesn't work very well against like a Break-a-Boss, as long as you have no friendly units within 3 inches of that Break-a-Boss or a Vulture Boss, right? So if you can like throw some monsters at Usharon, he'll have a harder time making them strike last, and this spell won't be that effective against him, right? So answer Usharon with monsters and ranged. High Falconer Felgrin. He picks a unit and removes its ward. Yeah, but we don't care. So we don't have a lot of words, right? Egomaniac, but like whatever. Royal Decapitator. After it fights, it rolls 2d6. If it's greater than the health of an infantry hero, that hero is slain. Not a big deal in Kruleboyz. We don't really have any infantry heroes that we want to be getting into combat. It's more like an Iron Jaws thing where you have to look out for like a mega boss and stuff, right? But yeah, like the fact that it's an infantry hero probably won't matter all that much for Kruleboyz. If he's getting into like your Swamp Kala or your Merc Knob, they're probably dead anyway, right? So it means that they've breached the castle walls, so it's not like it's a big deal, right? More offensive spells: Crypt Infernal Courtier and the Crypt Flayers. So this is a unit we looked at, right? This is this guy. This is the Crypt Infernal Courtier. And if we want to look at Crypt Flayers, right, again, they look like the hero, right? They're winged, right? This is a shooting bonus that they get. If the hero hits you with a shooting attack, then the infantry get +1 damage with their shooting attacks. And this is, of course, after they've deep struck in. And then they get to move closer to you. And then they get to shoot you with this bonus damage, right? Let's see if I can't find their war scroll really quick. Sorry about the beeps. Oops. Crypt Flayers. Yeah, here they are. So the shoots in combat, right? Crypt Infernal Courtier, so they get to shoot even if they are in combat. It's 10-inch range, so they easily get to do it after they kind of deep struck in. And then the Flayers get this bumped up to 2 damage. So if they all had attack, which they probably will, right? If the Infernal Courtier hits you and does damage, cool. This thing just went to 2 damage. So it's 3s to hit, 3s to wound, 2 rend, 2 damage. It's pretty nasty. This is going to be a big problem for Kruleboyz, right? We are kind of weak to shooting. So, yeah, maybe try to get things obscured. So they can't do this, but they still get to do it in combat. So they're gonna be like a big target for us. There's a manifestation called the Corpsemare Stampede. This thing's cool. It can charge the turn it comes into play because it just has like an ability. But the longer it's in play, the more charge dice it gets, and the more charge dice it gets, the more like it gets to add its charge roll to the number of attacks that it makes, I think. So the longer it's in play, the more and more damage it's going to deal, and the further it's going to be able to move. So of all the manifestations on the board, if this thing hits the board, you probably want to banish it and get rid of it. Otherwise, it's going to surprise you and be a problem later in the game. Some specific anti-tech that they have. The Royal Terrorgeist has a 6-up Horde Buster to an infantry unit that it is in combat with. So if it charges in, it just gets to roll a number of dice equal to the model count. So 20 Gut Rippas, and for every 6, it deals a mortal wound. And if it deals 3 or more damage, the unit gets -1 to hit rolls. Not a big deal for Gut Rippas, right? Because we just rely on crit mortals, but still, try to answer this with monsters. Monsters are going to do a little bit better, I think, against some of the bigger problems that Feck have. The Cryptors have anti-cavalry. Who cares? We're Kruleboyz. Ha ha ha. And there's Royal Beast Slayers. Monsters cannot use rampages within 3 inches of them, and monsters and beasts get -1 damage. This can't reduce the damage to less than 0. We don't have any beasts in our army, but like the Break-a-Boss, right? Like you want to just keep obviously the monsters away from the Royal Beast Flayers, and you want to keep the infantry away from the Royal Terrorgeist if possible. Monster Killers will do fine against the Royal Terrorgeists, right? And Gut Rippas are good against the Beast Flayers, but those are some specific anti-tech pieces that they have. Some defensive abilities that they have. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, like for offense, it's like extra attacks. They debuff you quite a bit with -2 to your hits, -2 to your attacks, right? They make you ignore saves, you know. So it's not like not a lot of mortal wounds, right? So like it's fine. They're just gonna throw lots and lots of dice at you, and they're just gonna keep punching you over and over and over again, right? So for defensive abilities that they have, so they have an illusion called Splendid Pageant. This does something else too. This isn't its only thing that it does. Where is it? Should be here. Yeah, Splendid Pageant. This is the one that just gives a minimum of 4 to run for units that are wholly within 12 of a hero. It also makes heroes invisible outside of 6 inches. Right? Infantry heroes within combat range of a friendly Feck infantry unit that has 5 or more models. It's not visible to enemy units more than 6 inches away. So it just makes them hard to like pick off. So it's a pretty good one, right? Like minimum run 4 and invisible heroes, but they probably won't be picking this one most of the time, but they might do it if you're like running a bunch of Bold Boys or something, right? The Abhorrent Arc Regent has a delusion, -1 to hit from shooting to units wholly within 12 inches of a hero. This is anti-Killbow, right? The Killbow hits on 4s, so we can get that to 3s pretty easily. So then it's like -1 that we're back on 4s, and then we need all out attack to make it on 3s, right? So this is a piece of tech they can choose. I'm not sure how often you'll see the Abhorrent Arc Regent, but it is on the table. So if they have this, it's in the toolbox, right? They have a heroic trait called Stronger in Madness. Weapon abilities for combat attacks have no effect against this unit, which means they can put this on like one of the big monster heroes, right? Not Usharon because he's unique, but they can put it on like a, you know, Royal Zombie Dragon with a rider on top, right? Like a monster hero, and you can't use crit mortals, right? You just can't use crit mortals against it, which is pretty nasty, right? But if we look at the heroic traits, it's like, yeah, other than weapon abilities cannot be made. It's pretty good. Rerolling charge rolls is not like Cruel Taskmaster isn't like, if you have a big monster hero, I think you put this on him every time. It also ignores a point of damage, which is like whatever. But like ignoring crit 2 hits and crit mortals makes these things a lot stronger, and you need the heroes to be alive to give their bonuses, right? If you don't have a big hero, then like other things become better. Reroll charges is like whatever, because we're getting so many bonuses already, right? Add one of the attack characteristics of this unit's melee, including companion. This is like a fight twice. Oh, no, wait. It's just adding it to the attack characteristic. So I guess you have a choice. You can either make it tankier or you can make it a little bit fightier. I'd probably go with the tankier personally, but you will see it. Like you will see it on the table, right? Stronger in Madness. They have a prayer card, Charnel Conviction. It's answers on a 4, wholly within 12. Somebody gets a 5-up ward, right? So it makes things a little bit tankier, a little bit better against our mortal wounds. Overcharged is 2 targets. Abhorrence heal D3 in their hero phase. If you're gonna focus down a hero, focus down a hero. Don't splash damage around, right? Focus things down to death. Abhorrence are just gonna heal. They have a manifestation called Chalice of Usharon. If you're within 6 on a 3-up, it makes you pick either they crit against you on 5s or you lose your weapon abilities. So you're just gonna, the vast majority of the time, let them crit on 5s against you. It's gonna be crit 2 hits, right? So it's like, because you don't want to lose, like you're gonna be striking last them, right? And you don't want to lose crit mortals, right? So this is not a big deal, but you're just always gonna choose they crit on 5s against you. They have a manifestation called Cadaverous Barricade. It stops run and retreat and halves the movement. It's very similar to the swamp, marsh, spit, swamp, whatever it's called. So it's going to stop your redeploys, right? To prevent you from getting away from them. Effects coming to get you. Some of the units have some defensive abilities. Usharon has a rampage, so again, you can turn it off. Makes up to 3 units in combat with him strike last if you roll greater than their control. We've talked about this a bunch. Just send monsters at Usharon. The Abhorrent Ghoul King or Monster Killers, right? Turn off this rampage. The Abhorrent Ghoul King has a rampage. It shuts off commands if it rolls greater than your control. So no all-out attack, no all-out defense, but that's fine. You can also just shut it off with Monster Killers. Obviously, you're going to be sending, Monster Killers this way. Because I think I think I miswrote. I think it's on a zombie dragon. It's not just a Ghoul King. I think it's a Ghoul King on a zombie dragon. Grand Justice Gormain is here, I'll show you what he looks like. Grand Justice Gormain, right? Here's my guy. Cool looking model. Not a great picture, but cool looking model. He shuts off on a 3-up. He makes strike last if in combat with a hero. So he picks a unit. I think it's with an 18. I should have really written it down. Let me just find it real quick so we can make sure that we're doing this correctly. Yeah, Grand Justice Gormain. Here it is right here. Oops. Yeah, it's right here. It's a little bit complicated. So it's your charge phase. So the effect player's charge phase. Pick a visible enemy unit with an 18 to be the target on a 3-up until the start of your next turn. So it's for their turn and then your turn. The target has strike last while it's in combat with any friendly feck heroes and any friendly serfs or knights. So they have to be in combat with a hero and a serf unit or a knight unit. So like this will be good against Usharon, right? Because like Usharon is a hero that's hard to kill. So, but it is on a 3-up, right? And then they have to meet that condition. You'll probably see this guy around. Crypt Guard gives itself and every non-monster hero wholly within 3 inches of it a 5-up ward. If you charge it, they get anti-charge +1 rend, but they also can get +1 rend, and on a 3-up they get strike first, but they lose their 5-up ward. So if you're gonna charge these guys, be prepared to strike last them. Right? They're gonna strike first, and then you're gonna strike them last, which means they just fight normal. So then you get to fight them before they get to fight you. And if they do choose strike first, then they lose that ward. So they're gonna be a lot easier to chew through. So that's it. What did you think of the new format? In previous videos, what I did is I just went through the book and I just sort of said everything as it sort of came up. But in this one, I categorized it more. I think it's better, right? It's like, here's all the movement tricks and a lot of them work together, right? And here's all the recursions. So you get a sense of like what the army can do, like if it, does all of its recursion, right? anti-tech, right? I think it's a pretty good format. Anyway, you let me know, please, down in the comments below what you think. But if you do none of those things, please like, subscribe. Wow.